Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dami. As always, if you see my face for the very first time, I am a Nigerian YouTuber based in Brisbane, Australia. Thank you to my amazing subscribers that always come back to watch my videos. Thank you guys. And if you're new here, please ensure you do subscribe before you leave today. I put out amazing and interesting content about living in Australia as an immigrant. So yeah, that's basically what this channel is about. I put out lifestyle content, living in Australia, our experience, and bits and pieces of migration tips on how we relocated to Australia, and a lot of other options that are available for you to migrate to Australia. If this is something that interests you, please ensure you do subscribe before you leave today to get notified whenever I put up more of these interesting videos. And also to just mention for new subscribers, I am not in any way a migration consultant. I am not a migration lawyer. I just put out tips that are publicly available and things that have worked for me and people around me. If you do need a migration, like a registered migration consultant services, please ensure you look for an accredited migration consultant and speak to them directly. With that said, let's get into today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all the costs involved in migrating to Australia. And if you've been watching my videos from the very beginning, I've mentioned the type of visa we came in through, so you understand where some of this cost and reason why some of these things has happened. But to just reiterate for people who are joining my channel for the very first time or seeing this video for the very first time, I migrated to Australia sometimes in 2019 via the TSS 482 visa, and that visa I think is for about 3 years. So some of this costs are being borne by the employer. 98% of this cost, and about 2% we had to bear the cost. I'm going to go through each of these costs shortly. And also something to also mention is, since my journey on YouTube, I've seen several videos, and even speaking to people personally, I've seen people who got jobs from watching my videos, to the glory of God, and the different contracts they've given people. Some people, the employer is willing to sponsor them and then pay all this involved cost, whereas some other people, the employer wants you to bear the cost. What I'll just say is some of these things has to do with your negotiation power and negotiation skills, and how you communicate to these employers and how you are able to work your way around it. But with all of that said, let's get into the list of items that we had to spend money for when planning or whilst we moved to Australia. Yeah, the very first one on this list will be the cost for our visa. So for me, the first cost I had to pay was visa fee, and I did not have to pay that directly. The employer paid for me, so it was part of my, up until the point where I got the offer letter, I did not spend a dime. I didn't have to spend any money because I applied for the job, I think sometimes in April 2019. I got my offer sometimes, I think early June. Yeah, I remember it was after a public holiday, most likely this Democracy Day or something like that. It was after a public holiday I got my offer. And after I got my offer, the next thing that happened was the visa application. So for the visa application, what they just told me is to submit certain documents, and these documents were basically mine and that of my kids and husband. And for them, it wasn't really their credentials, it was just their, I think maybe passports, birth certificate, like things that shows like we have that tied together. And for me, it was my credentials, my certificates, I can't remember, but I know my certificate and few of my other personal documents. So it was upon lodgement of this visa that they required my medical examination. Most of this cost I'm going to be talking about also is based on the family of 4, so you might divide, and sometimes children are cheaper than adults, so dividing it by 4 might not work. So yeah, bear that in mind. My employer was paying for my visa. I did not have any need to pay, but I know how much it is, because also when I took on this employment, one of the cons, or yeah, I will still do a video about the pros and cons of this kind of visa as well, but one of the things I signed in my contract was the fact that if I leave this employment at any point in time, my visa fee and all other relocation allowance that was spent bringing me to Australia, I would have to pay back. So if I'm signing that kind of thing, of course I want to check how much it costs, so that if I have to cough it back, I'm mentally prepared for it, if that makes sense. Because to me, my thinking process at the time was, how much is it? Should I get there and I don't like it and I want to come back home? How much is it? Is this something I can afford, and things like that? So yeah, I checked. So I think for myself it was about 2,000 something. My husband was the same, about 2,175 AUD at the time. This was 2019, and then the kids were maybe 1,000 plus. So maybe the total cost my employer spent in lodging this visa was about maybe 6,000, 7,000 Australian dollars in 2019. So yeah, and they paid all of that. I did not have to pay a dime. And the next one was the medical fees. We went to the doctor somewhere in VI. They will give you a list of doctors you can go to. I think they gave us 2, and one of them was fully booked, and then we chose this private hospital somewhere in VI, and we paid 180,000 naira in naira. So we paid that in full. So to also mention, upon getting my employment contract, after the whole interview process and everything, the employer stated that aside from the visa fee and any fee they would incur and that they would pay by themselves, I was entitled to another certain amount of money as relocation expenses. And this relocation expenses was meant to cover cost of flight and any related costs for coming to Australia. But any visa related fee, they would board those costs directly. So that is outside my relocation expenses. So this 180,000 naira is not inclusive in my relocation expenses. They had to pay me back that directly. And also, upon application of the visa, we needed to submit a polio certificate, which is the yellow card you do at the airport. And I think for the 4 of us as well, this was about 8,630 naira. So this the medical cost and the polio cost was returned to us by the employer, which was already stated in our my contract. So I got that money back. So I've talked about the medical fees, I've talked about the visa fees, and then I've talked about the polio costs. So the cost we had to incur is the police certificate. So I needed police certificate for myself because I've lived in the UK. I had to do a police certificate from the UK, and I think this was about £45 if I remember very well. Yes, so that was £45, and then I had to do police certificate for Nigeria, myself and my husband. The kids do not, so you need police certificate for anybody older than 18 years old. So for Nigeria, I think we did about 5,000 naira. Yeah, I remember that very well. So it was 5,000 naira for myself, 5,000 naira for Obi. So that was 10,000 naira, and then the 45 pounds for the UK police certificate. So that was just about it for the police certificate. And then we went on to the flight ticket. So I think when we submitted, before we got to flight, when we submitted the police certificate, the medicals and the polio, everything was just at a pause for a while, like about a month thereabouts, and we were waiting for the visa. In exactly a month, we got our visa, and the next thing we wanted to do, like was on our mind, was to go to Australia, of course. So we bought our ticket. So now we're 100% certain that we're going, and then we go to the point where we needed to buy our tickets. Yeah, I think that was the next on our list, and the tickets was so expensive. I'm imagining now how much it costs, because it feels like the airfare has doubled up in price from 2019 till now after COVID. So I think our ticket at the time was in naira, it was 1.1 million thereabouts, but in dollars that is about $3,159. Before buying the ticket as well, it was a bit tough, because at the time you were meant to buy the ticket and they will refund you upon arrival in Australia. So it was a lot of money. I think that was when we got to the stage of, okay, we need to start selling our things. For people who knew me then, I had to sell my car, and it was so difficult. So what I'm just trying to say is that if relocation is something that is on your mind as well and you really want to do, it is important you save, because even for some people, I know people who have had to pay their visa fee themselves. So imagine you've had to pay about $7,000 visa fee before you get up to the ticket. So it's a lot of money involved. If other people, they have to do skills assessments. Skills assessment is another story for another day. I would also film a video about the total cost of skill assessment, but for the type of job I was that I got, I did not need a skill assessment. So I only needed the skills assessment recently, but at that time I did not need a skills assessment, so I did not do it. Some people would have to do skills assessment before they get a job. So if this is, so that's what I'm saying, you need to save, because different things require, like all this process, they require loads of funds. So yeah, we got our ticket and then we were ready to go to Australia. That was basically everything we spent before coming here. Of course, when we got to the airport, my relocation allowed me to do some extra bags because I had funds that they've allocated to me. So imagine they've allocated, let's say roughly maybe about $8,000, and I bought just ticket of $3,000 something from it, about $3,200 from it. So I still had lots of cash in my relocation allowance. And the way that relocation allowance works is that it has to be receipted, so if you don't spend it, you cannot get it. But you know what I mean. So what we did was we also did cargo. If we did cargo for a few of our stuffs that we needed, we did cargo. And then I think on our flight as well, we came in through Qatar and had a bit of a long layover at Qatar. So what we did was also we booked a lounge. Like, we tried to enjoy ourselves and not suffer because we are relocating. So we did book a lounge, which was also reimbursed. And then yeah, we got accommodation when we got here. So it's only later on when we're trying to reimburse this money that they said that accommodation is not part of it. But yeah, we also got accommodation for the first 1 week, which was about $500. We just booked Airbnb in the city of Brisbane, and it was such a nice and lovely place. But yeah, we booked accommodation for the first 1 week. And of course, you also need to save. So the cost that comes to you is the accommodation for your long term. You know, before your first pay comes, you need to pay your rent at least for 1 month. And the way our accommodation works here is you pay your accommodation for 1 month, and you also pay a bond, and most times your bond is 1 month's salary. So imagine you get an accommodation of $350 per week here. They charge per week in Brisbane. So 350 by 4 is what is your rent for 1 month, and then is also what is your bond. So you're talking about, let me just do a rough calculation. Let me do a calculation of that. So 350 times 4 weeks, that's 1,004, and most times your bond will be about 1,900. Let's not even joke about 350 for a family of 4 is not realistic. So let me use 400 for a family of 4. That's more realistic. 400 times, because our rent was actually $394 per week. So let's just use 400 in this time and era for 4 weeks is equals to 1,006. And for that type of rent, your bond would be something around 1,980. And that, I think that's about, I don't even know how they'll do that math. So for rent, you need about 3,580 to put down when you arrive before your first salary comes in. So it's a lot of money you need to save. Relocation requires a lot of things. I've emphasized on how much research work you need to do, and now I'm emphasizing on how much you need to save before things work out, because you need a lot of cash. And yeah, of course, you'd be able to sell some of your property. I remember very well when we were going, then we started selling our things. We sold our cars, sold all our property, because we knew at that point that we're going for good. So yeah, that's basically everything it cost us to relocate to Australia. If you have any questions, please drop it in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to answer you once I see them and get a chance to get to it. But yeah, that's basically about it. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Share this video to your friends, whoever you think needs this video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.